With the spells done and out of the way, we now need to talk about the equipment that you want to select for your summoner and your eidolon. Hello there everyone, and welcome back down here to the Gamer's Den with me, your host, Jordan, your master of lore and storyteller extraordinaire, here to keep the first edition Pathfinder Summoner Guide going today, talking about your equipment selection. Now, depending on the nature of the campaign, your DM, how things go overall, the equipment that you come across may vary a little bit, and you may not be able to go for everything that's on this list here, or you may find some other things that work incredibly well for you that just weren't talked about. The important thing is to kind of keep your eyes open and use this guide as more, well, a guide. Use it as a way of gauging what's going to work really well for you, what's going to synergize, or, if you're not really worried about that, then, pick out the equipment that's going to be the most fun for you, the most interesting thing that you can end up doing for yourself, for the party, for the story at large, because that's the most important thing. Telling a good story and having fun. So, bear all of that in mind and just take this guide with a grain of salt. Now, before we get into what exactly we have on hand for you today, if you're new here to the channel, then go on down there, hit the subscribe button, and become a regular member here at the Gamer's Den. Or if you've already gone on ahead and listed yourself on such an incredible roster of legendary heroes, then go on down there to hit the like button and share the video far and wide. But now we'll actually start getting into things. So, I always like to start off with your weapon and your armor. And for the summoner, the best choice for you, especially early on, is going to be the light crossbow. Deals 1d8 points of damage, crits on a 19 to 20 for double damage, and has an 80-foot range increment. Now, this isn't going to be a piece of equipment you're going to use all that regularly as you advance in level, as once you get further and further along, have more magic equipment, wands, staves, things like that, and you gain access to more and more of your spell levels, you're going to be spending more time casting your spells, directing your eidolon or summoned creatures than you will be attacking. But in the meantime, having base enhancement bonuses will be good, so getting a +1 or +2 light crossbow will be a pretty good deal for you overall. As well as getting the distance enhancement, which counts as a +1 bonus. This will double the range increment of your crossbow, so instead of reaching out 80 feet each increment, it's going to be reaching out 160 feet for each increment, which will do a lot to keep you from the midst of the fray, which is absolutely the last place you want to be. The other option or enhancement you should look at getting would be the Seeking enhancement. This is another +1 bonus. This will help to ignore concealment miss chances. Now, if you're dealing with an invisible opponent, you still have to have the crossbow aimed at the right square, but throwing out the glitter dust spell should help with that quite a bit and allow you to just fire and ignore the miss chance that is otherwise associated with that spell. So just bear that in mind there, but these things will help you significantly because you don't have an incredibly high attack bonus, so you're not going to have multiple attacks with which to make with your crossbow. So making sure that when you do have to attack with it, that you do hit and are contributing something effectively to the fight overall will be useful. However, just a reminder, at later levels, using your crossbow is going to be a distant third. You have your eidolon, you have summoned creatures, and you have your magic and magic items to make use of. Those should be your first go-tos. Now, for protecting yourself, you're going to have a hard time doing better than a chain shirt. This gives you a +4 bonus to your armor class, a maximum dexterity bonus of +4, and a -2 armor check penalty. Now, you're not really relying on a lot of skills that are going to be affected by the armor check penalty, but when it does come up, that's going to really suck for you. So, when you get to it, a mithril chain shirt will make it lighter, decrease the armor penalty to 0, and increase your maximum dexterity bonus to a 6. So, if you are playing with a particular build that lets you have such a significantly high dexterity bonus, this will go over incredibly well for you. But then again, just having a mithril chain shirt will still be useful because you can sleep with this on and not have your sleeping impacted negatively in any way. So you'll be at your maximum possible defense pretty much at all times, really. Now, some enhancements to consider getting for this. Energy resistance is always going to be a solid go-to. It does cost 18,000 points of damage, but given that you're a little bit of a squishier character, negating any damage coming your way is going to be very useful. And the determination enhancement costs 30,000 gold pieces. It's an incredibly significant investment, but this casts the Breath of Life spell on you when you drop down to 0 hit points or lower, allowing you to get up and get back into the fight very, very effectively. Now, it only works once per day, so once you get hit to this point and this activates, that's it. That's your last go around right there. Unless somebody else can get over to you and heal you if you get dropped again, well, then you are going to want to be incredibly careful, because if that activates, then something has gone terribly wrong. So be very careful, but it is definitely worth the investment if you can get it. The fact that it doesn't count as an enhancement bonus is just wild to me. Even though it costs 30,000 gold pieces, you'd think this would at least be like a +2, +3 enhancement bonus, but there it is. Now, for more general equipment, things that are going to help you, you might consider something like the Circlet of Persuasion. This costs a comparatively paltry 4,500 gold pieces. You get a +3 competence bonus on charisma-based checks while wearing this. This can be worn with a headband, however, this could be one that you're more comfortable skipping because you don't have a whole lot of charisma-based skills. The most significant one that you would want this for would be use magic device. This will go a long way towards helping make sure that you're able to activate the various magic items you might have on hand, but given that you already have a good charisma score and you have use magic device as a skill, you're probably going to be okay overall. But if you do have this and there's not somebody like a bard who could get better use out of it, then this is still going to be a very worthwhile item for you to have, especially since, again, you can wear this with a headband, such as the Headband of Alluring Charisma. Now, depending on which variety you get, this could cost you anywhere from 4,000 to 36,000 gold pieces, but you will gain a +2, +4, or +6 bonus to your charisma score. So that's a pretty huge jump to your charisma bonus. Now, while you don't have many spells that have spell save DCs, for the few that you do have, this will boost your boost the spell save DCs. This boosts your charisma-based skill checks. All of your class abilities that run off of your charisma will be improved, so it's definitely worthwhile for you to have. Now, another item, although it's incredibly spendy, is the Ring of Continuation, costing you 56,000 gold pieces if you have the opportunity to buy it. Extend a spell with target self that lasts 10 minutes a level or longer. It will now last 24 hours. So, why is this great? Well, obviously right here this is great, but I think this is even better for summoners, because you can cast spells like Mage Armor that are normally only targetable to yourself onto your Eidolon, meaning your Eidolon will have this bonus. Now, the big question here overall is, if you're wearing it, does this work on your Eidolon? Me personally as a DM, I would say yes, but some DMs may be inclined to say no, so this might be a worthwhile bit of equipment for you to put onto your Eidolon. So that way, when you do cast a buffing spell on your Eidolon, it's going to last the whole day without you having to recast it over and over. So that's going to save you spell slots in the long run. Your Eidolon is going to be buffed for a significant amount of time, because by the time 24 hours has passed, you have refreshed your spell slots, and you can just cast it over again and have your Eidolon in peak fighting condition. And this goes for any spell that lasts 10 minutes a level, so your options are really, really great with this. Either way you go, this is an incredible piece of equipment and will be absolutely invaluable to you. Absolutely worth the cost that you would have to pay to get it. But if you don't get that, then the extend metamagic rod will be very useful for you. This will cost 5,500 gold pieces. Up to 3 spells durations will be doubled. Doesn't apply to instant concentration or permanent spells, but a lot of your buffs are going to be absolutely great to pair with this and have with your Eidolon. So this can be a comparatively inexpensive way to have a similar effect put onto your Eidolon. Definitely another worthwhile grab for you. Then the next item is one that no self-respecting adventurer should be without. It's the handy haversack. This will cost 2,000 gold pieces. The central pouch of this sack holds up to 80 pounds of material. The side pouches will hold 20 pounds of material. And any item you reach for in the pack will automatically be on top and does not provoke attacks of opportunity when you draw them. However, this still requires a move action, so your action economy will still be a little bit burned up drawing out the item, but not taking an attack of opportunity is a fantastic boon for you to have. You don't want to exactly be eating a whole lot of attacks to begin with, so definitely very useful. This is especially great in conjunction with, say, if you have the determination enhancement on your armor. You get dropped, you get back up, it's your turn next, you're back up, but you're not at full health. You draw out a potion or whatever item you might need, you either buff yourself up, restore your hit points, or get the hell out of dodge, and do a lot to really keep yourself alive. So this works very nicely together with that particular enhancement. But then we go on from there to the next item, which is a mnemonic investment. This will cost 5,000 gold pieces. This is a robe that lets you cast a scroll carried in it one time a day without consuming the scroll, though any required components will be consumed when you do this. So, say you have a scroll that it's a particular spell that doesn't come up very often, but you know it's likely to be useful for an upcoming situation at hand. This will let you, will do exactly what it says here. You can cast the spell, but keep the scroll around, so that way you can get extra mileage out of it if you need to. Now, this can be very, very useful for more rare scrolls as well, more rare magics, but even still, the possibilities just really depend on what the situation is you're going into, so think ahead a little bit, try to research and plan things out if you can, work with your team, but overall, this is still a great investment and will quickly pay for itself. Another item that will pay for itself quickly are Pearls of Power. These will cost anywhere from 1,000 to an incredibly staggering 70,000 gold pieces. You use these pearls to recall a spell that you had cast that day. You're limited in spell level and the cost reflects the level that they affect. However, the 70,000 gold piece version allows you to recall 2 spells of different levels. These work great for 2/3 spellcasters where you're topped off at 6th level spells, as you just don't have quite the same number of spells per day that full spellcasters have, and these Pearls of Power are restricted to 6th level or lower spells. So, being able to refresh these and have access to more of your spells per day is going to be absolutely useful to you as a spellcaster. And these work exactly right up your alley, up to the limits of what you're able to cast normally. So, absolutely wonderful to have on hand. Now, going on from there, we have a couple of pieces of equipment here that will be fairly ideal for your Eidolon. First is the Belt of Giant Strength. This will cost 4,000, 16,000, or 36,000 gold pieces depending on the variety you get, and will give a +2, +4, or +6 bonus to your Eidolon's strength score. Absolutely invaluable, as this will affect their to-hit bonus as well as their damage modifier. So definitely great to have, although you can also consider Gauntlets of Strength. Gauntlets that they can wear, bracers, whatever, that will do the same thing and will free them up for, say, a Belt of Physical Might. Now, this is a more expensive variety, which costs 10,000, 40,000, or 90,000 gold pieces. For your Eidolon, you're going to want the Strength and Constitution variety. Now, the Constitution score bonus here is a little bit lower just because your Eidolon's limited in their hit dice and how those progress, so they're not going to get quite the same number of hit points out of it, but even still, since you're sending this creature into the melee, into the fray, and into the fight, having them have extra hit points is still going to be valuable. So definitely something to keep in mind. Although, if you have, say, gauntlets that are providing a significant strength bonus, you can switch this over to, say, dexterity and constitution to really round things out, because a dexterity bonus will affect their initiative, their reflex saves. It'll affect their defense bonus as well as any other skills that they might have that run off of their dexterity. So dexterity being that prime stat, this could be a good candidate for a belt of physical might that affects dexterity and constitution, especially if you already have a strength item for the Eidolon. And lastly, this one is dependent a little bit on how exactly you build your Eidolon, but it's melee weapons. If your Eidolon has hands, give them weapons that they are proficient in. So if it's longswords, give them longswords. Great swords, spears, halberds, whatever weapon they're proficient with, give them those weapons. Now, eventually you'll want to get up to magic +1 weapons, maybe +2 if you can afford to splurge on it, but cold iron weapons, adamantine weapons, mithril weapons, all of these things are helpful in overcoming damage reductions. So any one of these options will be great for you. If you can do a mix of all of them, even better. Just so that way you can really know for sure that your Eidolon will be able to cleave through your opponents and deal full damage to them. So it's definitely worth considering and keeping in mind there. Then, of course, you have other of items, rings of protection, cloaks of resistance that provide resistance bonuses to all of your save scores, yours or your Eidolons. They can even give your Eidolon bracers of armor. Now, lower levels, you may not have to worry about that so much since you have mage armor to help with that. But once you get to the +5, +6, +8 versions of bracers of armor, if you get those, then those are really going to outpace mage armor pretty dang hard, and will be absolutely worth it to have on your Eidolon. But this is the tricky part for the summoner here, is that you're not just equipping yourself, you're equipping yourself and this Eidolon. It's not just an animal companion, it's a full-on combat tanky creature that you can throw out there to really deal with your opponents. And yeah, it's you can be equipping them with a wider range of gear overall, potentially, depending on what exactly you're going for. So you're basically equipping 1.5 to 2 whole characters for one character. And thinking about it from a roleplay perspective, your party is going to see the Eidolon as something a bit inherently more disposable. It's supposed to eat the hit point damage. It's supposed to be keeping them, keeping the damage spread around and everybody alive. So giving them this really nice high-end piece of gear may not be very high on everybody else's priority list. From a roleplay perspective, hell, even from a player perspective, it's like, why are we giving the gauntlets of ogre strength to the Eidolon when we have the barbarian over there that really needs those too, and does more damage and has more attacks? Kind of hard to argue with the numbers there, but you still could make a case for it, especially as you advance, even if you're giving your Eidolon the cast-off items, that can still be a huge boost to the party overall. But again, you may also have the party members go, well, this is my equipment, I want to sell it. So you'll have to negotiate with them, possibly barter or buy. It all really just depends overall, and kind of depends on your DM as well too, because no DM wants to just shower the party with infinite magic items. But at the same time, you don't exactly want the party to have a whole lot of conflict either, so it can be difficult and tricky to balance. One way to bypass that would be to pick up the craft magic arms and armor feat, be able to start creating and enchanting your own your equipment overall for your Eidolon, and you have the spells to do so, but that still will get expensive in and of itself. But what do you think? Go on down to the comments below and let me know your thoughts. Did you like today's video? Did you dislike it? Let me know either way, hitting those like or dislike buttons and engaging me in the comments down below so we can have a great discussion about it. What other items might you recommend for the Summoner and the Eidolon overall? There's a whole array of other options out there that we just haven't even covered. I mean, we covered a lot of classics that appear on most of my videos, but we also tried to throw in a couple of unique ones that don't really come up very often. Either way, let me know your thoughts, other equipment suggestions you might make, and remember, if you're new here to the channel, go on down there, hit the subscribe button, and become a regular member. But with all that said, I've been your host, Jordan, your Master of Lore and Storyteller Extraordinaire. Thank you all so very much for your time, and you all have yourselves a good night.